Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rick from Only Football. Obviously, if you guys are keeping up with Monday Night Football, we just had some breaking news, a very bad injury, but Kyle and I are on the stream today to kind of bring you any updates and also to go over Week 17 and any playoff scenarios. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and we will also keep you updated on what's going on with Monday Night Football. Kyle, what's going on, man? Welcome to Only Football. We got Kyle here, Kyle and myself. Obviously, there's some stuff going on Monday Night Football. Kyle, you were getting back from a little trip, but
yeah. So I get the news. We were only about 10 minutes away from streaming the game, and I see the news that the game's suspended. I see the hit, and I just immediately put my phone on to the NFL app so I could hear the game. I figured if it was as serious as it looked, they would still be talking about it. And Troy Aikman was, they were just saying that they'd never seen anything like it before in their entire football career, and that's scary. It's a violent sport, and some may wonder why you don't see these things more often. I mean, you could make an argument that, 250-pound athletes running at 20 miles an hour, this is like a serious collision sport. I mean, you don't want it to, but as a fan, it's like heartbreaking. You just think about his mom. So here's what we do know. At 8:55, he was injured. They did come onto the field. They administered CPR, which to me is not a good sign. And apparently they were doing that for about 5 minutes. He left in an ambulance at 9:25. His parents or his mom was in attendance. She traveled with him. There's no official update on his condition, but the equipment managers have come on the field. So basically how we got into the game being suspended was Sean McDermott walked over to the Cincinnati's head coach, and they had a conversation at midfield. And the conclusion of that was both teams would head back to the locker room. And that was about an hour ago, I would say.
A little over an hour ago, yeah.
Yeah, a little over an hour ago. And I pretty much, I think that the players didn't want to play until they knew if Hamlin was okay. And then, just 5 minutes ago, you see the equipment managers have come on to the field to start taking the Bills equipment off the field. Now you have fans leaving the game. So they've agreed to postpone this game. It's official. That is a public announcement. This game will be postponed. If I had to be a guessing man, I would say the Bills and the Bengals may just cancel their Week 18 matchups if they're not, if they're not playoff important. This is there's a lot of time to try to make sense out of this, but I don't know how they're going to postpone this with just 2 weeks left. And obviously the football side of it doesn't matter right now. That's not important. What's important is his health, and football seems really small in comparison to what's going on. But yeah, it's just terrible.
It's very sad what's happening to Damar Hamlin right now. And like, you pretty much went step for step for what happened. All the teams, both teams came together at where he was down pretty much, where he was hurt, and both teams came together. Obviously they gave space to everything going on, but it is just insane what happened. I've never seen this personally happen in a football game, especially what's going on now. As you guys can see, Monday Night Football has been suspended for tonight. And obviously football is the farthest thing from anyone's mind right now, especially as a fan, as someone who is a fan of football, because you have a 24-year-old in the hospital right now who, after such a big hit, needed CPR and was just like laying down there, getting CPR, not knowing what's going to happen to his life. But hopefully Damar Hamlin, again, we hope for the best for him. It's like you said, it's just sad. His mom was there. It's a lot of things going on, a lot of emotions. They're talking about it. And the game was postponed or canceled pretty much just a few minutes ago. And we've got a few people in the chat. Richard Romero, hope you all have a good evening. You as well, Richard, especially with everything that's going on. Jinja in the chat. This is crazy, hoping for the best. Honestly, yeah, we really are. And JST, this is probably the worst moment in NFL history. It is, and it just shines, I think, a light on like player safety again. This is something else that really has to be taken into consideration for player safety. And the NFL has done some things for it, but hopefully this kind of takes it another step further where all players can be safe no matter what's going on in the game, no matter what type of hit. But again, it's just a brutal moment for the NFL right now. The players' health comes first, and that's exactly what you're seeing from the Bengals and the Bills and the NFL right now, Kyle.
Yeah. See some signs, some Bengal fans. This game was played in Cincinnati. Pray for Buffalo. Number 3, Hamlin. So quick. I mean, the fans handled it really well, I think. They were still all cheering when they headed back to the locker room, trying to just keep the kind of atmosphere that we're with you. But yeah, just it's almost impossible to describe the feeling. I think that most people would agree that when we think about players getting dramatically injured, whether that be we've seen some like paralyzed players, things like that, can't feel their legs from the waist down, stuff like that. We always imagine a helmet to helmet. At least I do. I always imagine like a bad helmet to helmet, like when Tua had his fingers. That was probably the worst moment I've seen up to that point. And then this obviously is worse already, but it's just I wouldn't have expected it to come from a hit to the chest. But I mean, it's such like a fragile place. You got all your main organs right there, and I don't know. I always just the helmet to the helmet. I don't even know how they could prevent something like that. We may have seen that play, a million times, and it's never done, what we're seeing today. So it's just, it's a really difficult situation, because a lot of times when something bad happens, like the Tua injury, you look for, the personnel to kind of put in a good word for like, we're doing something to address this moving forward. You can feel safe. I don't know what they could say about this that would make, players feel, I guess, a warm and fuzzy going forward. But you just see all the players crying, just grown men, and just bawling their eyes out. It's just such a raw, emotional experience to witness. I mean, I was tearing up myself. Like, it's just, yeah, it's terrible, man. I really hope that he's all right. And there's no official word yet, but you can bet your bottom dollar that the entire country is on standby waiting to hear that he's all right.
Honestly, yeah, this is something that, because the NFL does have such a big spotlight, right? Like, there's people out there who, just like us, have podcasts, have shows about the NFL and just strictly on the NFL and what's going on. It has such a big spotlight that the world is watching when something like this happens, right? And there's really not much you can do when something like this happens, other than hope for the best and then try to take measures after the fact to kind of to prevent something like this, right? And while I don't want to, sit here and kind of take it, make it seem like we're taking advantage of what happened, in a sense where we're like getting views and things like that. I think it's just something to talk about. And it's something that's sad. Like you said, you teared up because as someone who watches, as people who watch a lot of football, this is the last thing you want to see is somebody get taken out in an ambulance, have CPR administered to them on the field where they just were playing football, right? Like it's not something you want to see. So Kyle and I will try our best to give you guys any updates as they come along. We've got Scott Van Pelt, and I don't know his name. They're kind of talking about it, but we'll try to continue the episode, our Week 17 recap. And again, obviously, Monday Night Football for tonight is suspended, so they will find another day to play this game, if at all. So please definitely stay tuned for that. But Kyle, let's try, and again, we're going to give you guys updates. Let's try and move on
here's one update coming in right now. Mm-hmm. Damar Hamlin is in critical condition at the hospital. So that is the medical update. So you have, different levels of, care, priorities, things like that. So critical condition is the worst condition,
yes,
that you can be in a hospital.
That's sad.
Man, it's just, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's also the care and the way the situation is handled is really tricky waters to navigate because,
mm-hmm.
The families deserve to know before, you and I, what
mm-hmm.
happened. They deserve that time. Hopefully not. But should it be bad news, it's just hard to keep it private because it was public,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it might be just something that's not disclosed to us today, but they did disclose that he's in critical condition. That may have been more than an update than I was actually anticipating. So
same. Yeah, that's man, that's bad. That is bad. Wow. I don't know. I again, if you guys are watching right now and you guys were watching Monday Night Football, what sort of emotions, I don't know how to process it really. Again, this isn't something that we see like ever really. Kyle and I were speaking earlier. This is something that has happened in the past with soccer players. I was just doing Big League Chicago, and Eric, one of the co-hosts, was talking about a guy that 2 years ago stepped on the field, started playing, and went into cardiac arrest because of playing the game. But this isn't usually something you see in football. And like Kyle said, in critical condition right now, Damar Hamlin. Yeah, we'll try to bring you as many updates as possible. Again, we're hoping for the best for Damar and his family. Again, we if you're his family, you should be the first to know for all this stuff happening right now. But we're going to try to bring you as many updates as we can as we go through the episode on this live stream. Let's kind of hop in to what happened in our NFL Week 17 recap. Again, we'll bring you updates as we kind of go along. I've got Twitter up, but let's kind of go over what happened in week 17. We'll try to make sure to try to go through everything as quickly as possible. But okay, Kyle, week 17 started off with Thursday Night Football. Obviously, we had streamed that game. It was the Cowboys at the Titans. And the Cowboys ended up winning. We both did have the Cowboys. The Cowboys ended up winning. I'm going to pull up the score here in a sec. Let me just bring it up here. It was sort of a domination. It was 27-13, basically double what the Titans had for the Cowboys. Cowboys are now 12-4. Titans are 7-9 with no longer having that stranglehold, I guess, on the AFC South. Again, we both had the Cowboys to win. I say it felt like a pretty easy pick. But yeah, do the Titans have I mean, we'll go over the playoff implications and the playoff picture later. We're gonna end with or go after week 17. But what's going on with the Titans, man? What is going on with the Titans?
Injuries. They're depleted by injuries. They don't have their best players. They're playing with the third string quarterback that looked better than the other guy, the second string Malik Willis.
Yeah.
It's just this happens once in a while. Really good head coaches tend to avoid these, and up to this point, Titans head coach has been able to avoid a losing season. So I would say this doesn't. His job is completely secure, but I would say this year the AFC South does not belong to Tennessee. They need to try to get healthy, and there's a lot of teams that are having these issues this year. But there's just certain positions where if it's happening it's a lot harder to deal with. You can lose a good wide receiver and maybe go get some serviceable wide receivers in free agency, but you lose Tannehill, and then you just lose basically everybody else. I mean, Derrick Henry wasn't in the game. Like things are bad when Derrick Henry is the only reason the Titans have been able to find success, and he's not in the game. So nothing surprising to me about what took place besides the fact that the Cowboys just made some questionable plays that caused turnovers. Dak Prescott trying to be considered a top 10 quarterback, and every time I watch, it's just the fact is he's not a top 10 quarterback. The stats prove otherwise, that he can't put the game on his shoulders and get into a shootout. He has a losing record when he throws more than 36 times. When they ask him to manage a game and run the football, he wins most of his games. So he should be the starter for the Cowboys, but it's just a little bit of managing expectations that the Cowboys are going to have to do going into the playoffs, because you just never know who you're going to get with this Cowboys team, and the good teams aren't going to, stick around in the first half like the Titans did. If you throw 3 interceptions or have 3 turnovers in the first half of any playoff game, that's the team that's going to lose. So, yeah, just Cowboys kind of losing some faith. They're just not as consistent as I would like to see a team going into January. In Tennessee, not surprised there. They're trying to win a fight with 2 arms tied behind their back. They're not going to.
Yeah, and that just kind of goes to show what sort of league we're playing in, right? You need that quarterback. You need that superstar, and I'm talking for the Tennessee side, right? Because yes, Dak is considered a top 10, but a lot of people, and I'm assuming you included, you look at him as an outside the top 10 type of guy. But for the Tennessee side, who knows what Malik Willis will be? Obviously, he has had very, very little playing time, and the fact that Derrick Henry is not playing, it just makes that Tennessee team look just even worse, really. So I think when Week 18 rolls around, and again we'll get into playoff stuff later, it's that's the game, and we talked about it last episode when we were going over our Week 17 predictions. Is that it's going to be that is going to decide the AFC South. Real quick here in the comments, JST can I ask what news source to look at for updates. So I would honestly, Twitter is probably the best one. If you're able to stream Sports Center, I would as well, but Twitter seems to be some of the best, even though sometimes you have to go to reliable sources. So NFL, anything with like a blue check mark, that is a reliable source can go. But what were you going to say, Kyle?
I was going to say I'm using ESPN just because Monday Night Football is broadcasted through ESPN.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability, if you have ESPN Plus, that's what I have on. And they are just continually talking about it, giving us any updates. They haven't left the studio. Like this is all Sports Center or ESPN is right now. So,
yep. So definitely go for that, JST. We got Alpha in the chat. Alpha, welcome. Yeah, man. Prayers up. Yes, prayers up. And then one thing that I am seeing on Twitter that I would encourage all of you guys to to do is not necessarily share the video of what happened to him, what happened on that play, but share the video of him greeting his family, Damar Hamlin greeting his family. There's a really nice video of him, saying hi to his mom, his family, all sorts of stuff. So I would share that one for Damar Hamlin. Again, any updates, we will keep you up to date. Our next game on week 17 was Cardinals at the Falcons. This is a game where I did take the Cardinals and you took the Falcons, and I kind of banked the Cardinals on winning it for JJ Watt. It looked like it. It looked like it towards the end.
It did.
And what happened? Younghoe Koo came in, had a very, very short, I think it was like a 21 or a 22-yard game-winning field goal to make it a win for the Falcons, 20-19. So the Cardinals lose this one 20-19, fall to 4-12. Falcons move up to 6-10, but the NFC South for them is over because of a game we will talk about in the future. This one was not really a game that I cared about. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
it just wasn't.
We've gotten to the point of the season where if you're not in the playoffs, we're not going to talk about you for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
I think Arizona has a lot of rebuilding to do, and Atlanta, they got their kicker. That's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, and
he's had a good year kicking.
Yeah, he's been a solid kicker for the last couple of years or so. And the Cardinals, obviously, again, I think they started Colt McCoy for like the second or third game in a row. JJ Watt is unfortunately going to end his career in a really bad team, but honestly better than ending it on the Texans, because it's either way, right? Either way, he would have ended on a bad team.
Yeah, at least he's ending it on a bad team, but playing at a high level, which is better than playing at a low level and being pulled by a good team, I guess. I don't know. Manning did that. He depleted, but the Broncos defense pulled him to a Super Bowl. But everyone remembers Manning is having nothing to do with the Super Bowl. So
yeah.
Watt still has some ball left in him. He's just retiring because he's a daddy.
Yeah, he's got a lot of personal stuff going on. Good for him, man, because you don't want to elongate a career that you think you're just dragging along, right? So,
and I bet also a moment like tonight.
Yeah,
we don't talk about it a lot, but as players, I'm sure that these are discussions that happen at the dinner table, amongst families, taking in consideration the dangerous side of the sport. And becoming a father just adds to that. Hey, I'm living for more than just myself right now. And the fact that he retired, when he had his kid, should let you know that players have a really good understanding of the dangers of this sport, probably more than we talk about or that media lets us believe. These are players that literally like put their bodies on the line so that we can enjoy some entertainment. It's crazy. Sorry, this thing still got me going.
No. Don't apologize, man. I think this is everybody right now, right? Everybody in the stream, everybody in media, everybody in football in general this is weighing heavy on their mind right now. So don't apologize for just kind of having this on your mind. I don't think anybody would want you to apologize because, again, everybody's got this kind of just running through their head right now. Let's go on to the next game. Bears at Lions. Bears get absolutely embarrassed by Lions 41-10. There was really not much going on for this Bears team after the first quarter. They scored 10 points in the first. They went into the second quarter up 10-7 on the Lions. And then the Lions just absolutely destroyed them. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was a complete ass whooping by the Lions on the Bears. Fields had 132 yards rushing. The only good thing is that he's about 63, 64 yards away from the rushing record for a quarterback in a single season. So one thing to look forward to, right, in week 18 for Fields is to hopefully he can break that record. Other than that, though, Hutchinson, great game. He had an interception on field. He had some sacks. Fields is now the most sacked quarterback in Bears history, passing up your boy Jay Cutler. But Hutchinson had a really good game. That entire Lions defense, Jared Goff threw 3 touchdowns. Swift and Jamal Williams had a touchdown each. This game was an absolute, again, ass kicking, and there really isn't much to say from my end. Kyle, what do you got for this one?
Yeah, ass kicking. Detroit plays really good at home. I'll mention it every time. They play really well at home.
Yeah.
And the Lions next week, I'll say the one thing the Packers have on their side is there's a couple things. One, the game's in Lambeau. But number two, they flexed that Packers Lions game to Sunday night, which means if the Seahawks win their game, which that would mean that Detroit's out of the playoffs no matter what happens. So, because Seattle has a tiebreaker over Detroit. And you could say that the Dan Campbell will always have his team ready to go, and that stuff's true. But I'm sure players, when they know that there is no playoffs, on the line, they play a little different. So if they could go into that game knowing that they're out of the playoffs, you might have the advantage that you don't get their best shot, if you're Green Bay. So that'll be things to be decided next week, but just a little something to throw in.
For sure. So, I mean, the Lions are still alive for a playoff spot with this win. They are playing the Green Bay Packers next week, and that was flexed to Sunday Night Football. So it's kind of like, whoever wins that game does get in a sense. So it was flexed to Sunday Night Football. We'll see what happens with that game. Let's move on to the next one. Jaguars at the Texans. Jaguars put a whooping on the Texans, 31-3. Jaguars are in prime position again for Week 18 against the Titans to get that AFC South title, and a possible either 3 or 4 seed, something like that, depending on the record. But Trevor Lawrence looked solid. Etienne looked really good in this game against the Texans, and the Texans are just, I guess one more loss away from the number 1 pick or a win away from the number 2 pick, depending on what happens with the Bears as well. What did you see from this game? Anything really stand out for you on the Jaguars other than they're still playing for a playoff spot?
No, I mean, that's what you want to see against the teams that you're supposed to handle. That's what they did. And that's why we kind of complained about the Dallas game, is because they had an opportunity to handle their business and they didn't. You have a team like the Giants, handling their business. Like, this is the time of year where you're not supposed to we know who everybody is. Like there's no mystery team out there. So there's certain teams you're supposed to beat the living crap out of if you're trying to play in January. And that's what Jacksonville did. So good on them. That's the kind of momentum that they're going to need to carry into next week to win at home. That'll be in playoff game number 1, if you will. Winner is in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And real quick, as we take a break from Week 17, I am going to put a link here in the chat. It is for Damar Hamlin's, it's his toy drive fundraiser. So it's a fundraiser that has absolutely exceeded expectations. They're up to $300,000, but I'm going to put it here in the comments for you guys to go and donate if you guys are able to. So show him some love in that sense to his fundraiser, to his charity. But it is it is in the comments. So if you guys are scrolling, definitely go check it out. Alpha Vivid, 500,000 now. Okay. It's just going to grow. It's going to keep going. So good for him on that and that charity and all the people who are going to get toys from that. Next game up, heartbreaker for you, Kyle, as the Broncos visit Kansas City, but get beat. Close game, 27-24 by the Chiefs. I'll let you take the floor on this one. We were both watching it on Red Zone, and you were watching it at home. So positives, right? There are some positives in this game.
There's definitely some positives, and you saw a lot of fire from Jerry Rosberg on the sideline. I mean, that is the kind of fire that we've been wanting to see on the sideline. Just, Nathaniel Hackett always is just kind of standing there like, it's like,
yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, does he care? Like, why is he
Mhm.
confused? Just looking around, like, should I call my timeout? Should I send out my kicker? What do regular
Yeah.
coaches do? Like, literally just looking lost. I want to see a guy in the sidelines screaming his ass off, pointing at people, yelling
Mhm.
at refs. Just very involved,
Yeah.
emotionally invested into it, and that's what you got on Sunday. So I thought the team responded well to it, losing by 4. The only reason they lost that game was because of a pass interference call on Cortland Sutton. It was called offensive pass interference. It had the Broncos in field goal range, and if
Mhm.
you look at the replay, it was like a 45-yard pass and catch, and Cortland Sutton didn't even put his hands on anybody. And
Yeah.
it's really bad. Did you see it? It's terrible.
I don't I think I did see it. I don't recall it at the moment though, because I
Okay.
remember you saying something about it while we were streaming the games, and then I think they had a replay on Red Zone, but and I'm positive there was, but I just can't remember it right now.
Yeah, there was that where the announcer, the professional referee guy that comes on, the official officiator for
Yeah.
television, he was
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, that was not an offensive pass interference." And then the fumble Russell Wilson had, he goes, "That is forward progress. That is not a fumble." And both of these calls like didn't go our way, and
Mhm.
I just realized, okay, if you're not in the hunt for the playoffs, like don't expect to get calls to go your way, because there
Yeah.
was absolutely no reason the Broncos weren't getting these calls, because they were obvious. They were like, it's just really frustrating because it's 15 in a row now, and
Mhm.
you just hate to see him be settled with penalties. But I will say, uh, John Harbaugh
Mhm.
is already been reached out,
Yeah, he
and
has.
there is Sean Payton has been reached out. So we have Sean Payton with Vic Fangio and John Harbaugh, and I like that a lot because he made Colin Kaepernick
Mhm.
Super Bowl quarterback. He turned Alex Smith's total season around. He went to the playoffs every year or the Super Bowl. Then he went to
Mhm.
Michigan, and you see them. I mean, everything this guy coaches is relevant in the football world. So
Yep.
I really think these owners you're going to see the luxury of having $60 billion happen with our coach. Like, he's going to sit down with these guys and say, what's the number? Like, what is your
Yeah.
number?
Yeah.
You really want to blow the market? I'll give you $20 million a year.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, we could see something that we've never seen before, but I do think one of those two guys is going to be our coach next year, and it's going to make a huge difference. So those are the positives to bring, I guess, to the Broncos country, is that, like, Sean
Mhm.
Payton, I guess we're front runner right now to land Sean Payton, which is really, really big deal. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
and then if you think about it, they're like, well, the Saints own his rights, so you would have to send the Saints a package to be able to get him. They're saying it might be a first round pick, but we got a first round pick by trading Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins. So
Dolphins.
yeah, so really, and that first pick was actually the 49ers. But in layman's terms, we're trading Bradley Chubb for Sean Payton. I'll do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's a
Yeah.
good trade. So lot to be seen. It doesn't. I had to just let you know about that update, though.
Yeah.
Um,
No, and that's what I've been hearing too is Sean Payne and sorry, John Hart. No, not John. What's his name? Harbaugh.
uh, I think it's a J, right? I think it's
It's
John.
no. John Harbaugh is the coach for the
Jim.
Jim Harbaugh. That's who it is. Yeah, Jim
Jim.
Harbaugh. So I've been hearing those two names circle around, and you had mentioned Vic Fangio as well. I don't know how. I don't know how likely either of those two will be because John Harbaugh has loved Michigan and has had a lot of success in the last couple of years recently with Michigan. Obviously, they were in the playoffs and they lost, but he came from the ground up with Michigan, and I don't know. It seems like he's comfortable there to stay there. But I mean, if I was Jim Harbaugh as well, and I could take not only the money but a good team with a good defense and like hey, you can make this offense work really well, with a good coach. I probably would take that. Sean Payton, I could also see that. I think there's another suitor for Sean Payton though. I don't know what that team was, but I'm not exactly sure what happened. Real
Yeah,
quick, we got Liam in the chat. What's up, Liam? How is it going, man? Thank you for joining us. What were you gonna say, Kyle?
they are just a little news update. They're live outside the hospital in Cincinnati where he was taken to, and there's going to be media and press availability coming up soon. So we'll at least have that. They're going to ask all the questions we have. What the answers to those questions are, TBD, but there is a presence outside the hospital, seeking answers for a worried country. So
For sure. And we got JST here in the chat as well. My thoughts go to Damar Hamlin and his family and friends. Such a tragic night on Monday Night Football. Football shouldn't matter. Players' health should always come first, no matter what the situation is, whether you're still in playoff seating or not. Damar Hamlin is in critical condition, so please pray for him and hopefully all goes well. Yes, we definitely have the same sentiments, and like Kyle said, we're gonna hopefully be getting some sort of answer soon. And Liam, yes, he's in critical condition right now, so hopefully we're getting some updates soon. And if not, if they wanted to be with the family, then that should be priority as well. Should be the family priority. Moving on from the Broncos and Chiefs, we had the Dolphins visiting New England, taking on the Patriots. Patriots take the win 23-21. Both teams are 8-8, and both teams still have a shot at the playoffs. Kyle, what happened with the Patriots and Dolphins in this game? It seemed like neither team wanted to win, and somehow Mac Jones made it happen.
Well, it's funny because New England, because of this win, has the tiebreaker over Miami, which means if they win, they're in. And if you look at the percentage, the chances of New England being in the playoffs, it's only at 30%. And that is because the professionals are saying it's more likely that New England loses to Buffalo next week. And that's what, that pending this postpone, that game might not even happen. So there's so much in flux right now. But I'll just say that Miami, they were playing with a backup quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, and Teddy Bridgewater. Look, Mike McDaniel said it. He said it on Christmas in a special interview. He said it multiple times. This system is tailored for Tua to be running the offense. And what that translates to is any other quarterback that this is what a good coach does. He caters the plays to his strengths. You're really good at throwing left over the shoulder sideline balls. We're going to cater those throws. And then you get a different quarterback come in. He can't find the same success. Teddy Bridgewater breaks a finger. He doesn't even then you get a third string quarterback. I mean, it seems kind of like what do you call it? Self-imploding. Like they had real aspirations to win this division, and it just slowly got out of their grasp. It just got further and further away until it gets to a point now where they don't even control their own destiny and they need help to get in the playoffs. It is going to go down as, a huge choke on the Dolphins, but we're talking about player safety. You have to remember that Tua was not available to play a lot of these games. And I think the games that Tua did play, they have won 90% of them. So I guess Miami's doing the right thing. And, everybody was quick to let Miami know when they weren't doing the right thing, when they were doing the wrong thing. Everybody was like, player safety, you're an ass. And now here they are playing for the playoffs, and Tua is not even mentioned in the conversation of playing on Sunday, right? That's the right thing that they've been doing. A week after the Packer game, he didn't play in that Patriots game, and now a week after that, there's still no talks of a return for Tua. I mean, they know what's on the line, and they're doing the right thing. So good on that organization. Maybe they had to go through a rough patch to figure it out, but the results are there. They know that the world's looking at them under a microscope. And I guess at this point, all you can do is Hope everybody recovers fully and start getting ready for 2023. What I would like to see happen is I would like to see the Dolphins win and New England lose, because I think the Dolphins with a healthy Tua would be a lot more entertaining in the playoffs than Mac Jones and Bill Belichick.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, but it's just only if Tua's ready, and only if and once again, only if Tua's ready. Like, that's the
Really?
first, second, and third thing.
Yeah, and Tua is a competitor. You saw he still wanted to play, but with the concussion protocols and what's going on in the NFL, right? Like they're like, absolutely not, man. You until you're ready, until you're actually 100% healthy, you're gonna stay on the sidelines. You're gonna stay on the IR, and that is the right move. I would also like the Miami Dolphins to make the playoffs over the Patriots, just because Mac Jones, he just doesn't deserve it, man. He is not a good quarterback. He's not a good quarterback. He is not.
So boring.
And, yeah, honestly, and I think a lot of Patriots fans would agree, because there is a certain, no matter how you make the playoffs, if you make the playoffs, it almost seems like we're here. This is awesome. Like, we should be able to do something, right? Any given Sunday. Patriots don't look like a team like that at all. And
Yeah.
Patriots fans, and I've heard Patriots fans say this, like, I don't want to make the playoffs. I want to just be like, hey, we're not in the playoffs, and call it there, because who knows if Mac Jones is the guy. He got him to the playoffs last year in a wild card, but the way he's been playing this year has looked bad. And this game was somewhat not really an exception, because he led him to a win. But hopefully the Dolphins can make it after next week.
Yeah, I totally agree though, with what you're saying there.
Yep. So let's move on to another game where actually there was a team that clinched. We had the Colts visiting the Giants, and the Giants destroyed the Colts 38-10 in a game where Daniel Jones looked good, man. I mean, Danny Dimes looked pretty good in this game. Obviously, the score 38-10. The Colts, not really a team that you would expect to win, even against a Giants team. I think we both had the Giants in this game. I will double check. Did we both have the Giants? Yeah, we definitely both had the Giants in this game. So the Giants just whoop them, and they actually clinch a playoff spot. On top of that, does this team, the Giants, do they have a real shot as a wild card?
No.
Just straight up no.
Yeah, and I was just about to say too, everyone looks good against the Colts, but you were saying even Patriot fans don't want to see them make the playoffs, and I was thinking that's because there's like your tier ones, Cincinnati, Buffalo, those guys, and then you got your like tier twos where you got like Vikings and stuff like that, and then you got the teams that are like, why are they in the playoffs? Why are the Giants in the playoffs? It's only fun if you can at least be a tier two, because you could be a Vikings fan and be like, hey, any given Sunday, like Justin Jefferson goes off and has a crazy day, like we could make it to the Super Bowl. But I feel like if you're the Patriots or you're the Giants, like you are in that tier where it's like, this is just a waste of time. Like, why don't we we're taking up a spot here. That's the way I feel about the Giants. I'm not like a big hater or anything. It's just, you have ceilings and you have to understand them. And they may have already outperformed their ceiling. They may be on the stars right now. Shoot for the stars. This may be their stars that they've done it and they accomplished it. I don't see a higher ceiling for the Giants this year, but good on them for getting a big statement win against a team that everybody looks good against, but you have to dominate them. And I said it earlier, that's what Dallas didn't do, and I punished them. That's what the Giants did, and they should be rewarded for that. That's what good teams do.
Absolutely. And this, and with them clinching the playoffs with such kind of a up and down season that they have had, because I mean, they're only 9-6, right? They could be 9-7. Well, they're 9-6-1. They did have a tie. They could be 9-7 next week, going to the playoffs 9-7. This just strengthens, I guess, the coach of the year talks for Dable, in my opinion. Right? You take a Giants team that has not made the playoffs since what, 2016, I believe, 6-7 years, and you come in as a first year head coach, make Daniel Jones look really good as far as running the ball, not necessarily being a passing quarterback, but it just strengthens that sentiment of like, hey man, this is a coach of the year candidate right here. Saquon just had a resurrection of a career after that, and who knows? You never know, but this is looking good for Dable for coach of the year and for the playoffs for the Giants. And like you said, I kind of feel the same way. I don't think they have a shot at being a wild card. They're going to improve from here on out. But do you sign Daniel Jones to a long-term extension after this year?
No, and they said that there's already talks about it, about getting Barkley like signed on a longer contract. Like, I think that's a little emotional. I do think you could do the same thing Kirk Cousins did, right? Like, just keep signing him, like just tag him, you know, and then explore your other options. So you tag him. Don't handcuff yourself to a guy like this for the next 5 years because you made the playoffs. I just think that's stupid. And I also think, as far as the coach of the year, like, I respect that pick. I do. And I'm not just saying that. I think that's a candidate, but I have Kyle Shanahan. Just the way he handled Trey Lance, keeping Jimmy Garoppolo happy and satisfied enough to even want to play when Trey Lance went out. And then Trey Lance goes out, and then Brock Purdy. I mean, those are two coaches that have a pretty good shot at it, I think, this year.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. That was impressive. And it's just insane that they were able to continue, you know, from there to be at the position they're in, and to pick up CMC was definitely something that helped them, right?
Yeah, for 2/3 and a fourth or whatever the hell that they gave up. Like, I was like, what? Doesn't that seem a little low for CMC? Like, how is he not worth at least a first, a second, a third? You know, I mean, I was like, he got him for what? That doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah. Real quick, we've got JST here in the chat. Update on DeMar. His vitals are back to normal. They have put him to sleep, put a breathing tube down his throat. They are currently running tests. Very good to hear. Very good to hear. Good for DeMar. I'm glad the doctors were able to help him out like that.
Wow.
He's kind of back to normal. That fundraiser for him is oh yeah, it's making a lot of money. So
where did you get that news?
JST, yeah, where did you get that news, JST? Because I'm not seeing anything on ESPN. Hopefully there's some insider information that JST got it from. But
yeah,
if that's true, great. I'm glad. Big praise to the doctors. Yep, JST, big praise to the doctors for doing that, for able to get him normal.
That's
for
incredible.
Him. Hopefully it continues that way. Let's continue on to our next game. We had the Saints visiting the Eagles, and they actually got the dub against the Eagles 20-10 in a game where Gardner Minshew looked pretty bad. The good news is Eagles are 13-3, already punched their ticket to playoffs. They really just need that number 1 seed to kind of get that extra bye week, so Jalen Hurts could kind of rest up a little bit more. Kyle, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I think it's important to have Jalen Hurts healthy for the postseason. It may be more important. I mean, you got to remember, there's over 100 plays in a package where Jalen Hurts runs the ball. So he's not just a quarterback; he's a running back as well. So his health is paramount because he is such a large portion of the offense. So really, I think this is, if he's healthy enough to play, you'll see him on Sunday. But if he's not there yet, then there's no way you're risking, not having Hurts in the playoffs. Like, I would rather be on the road every single game and have Hurts than be at home with Minshew.
Yeah.
That's just like,
It's
That's
crazy
just,
to say that.
yeah,
It's crazy, but it's true.
yeah, he's a game changer. He's the Eagles. He's the leader
Mhm.
of that team. He's the identity. He's everything to them. So I'm not too worried. I think they will play him though on week
Yeah.
18 and seal up the home field advantage because um even if it's a scenario where he's like, hey, can you just play the first half and get us,
Mhm.
and do a comfortable lead, we'll pull you, because that bye week to get him fully healthy is probably going to be huge. So it's
Oh
a
yeah.
tricky waters they're trying to navigate over there with an injured Jalen Hurts, but a first round bye to give him more rest, but you have to play him to get more rest. I
Yeah,
think it
because
just comes
Minshew's
down
not
to,
gonna
yeah. I just think it comes
Minshew's not
down
gonna
to
make
how
it.
healthy he is.
Yeah, and hopefully he is healthy again. Health is the number one thing we're focusing on, especially with the spotlight on it as it is now, right?
Yeah.
But it should always, always, always be the first thing, especially for the NFL and the history that has gone on. As far as the Saints, I mean, they're 7-9 again. NFC South has already been uh, um, gobbled up, I guess is the term I'll use, which is not something I usually use. I don't know why I just said that. Um, but so I am seeing that update on DeMar now. His vitals are back to normal. They've put him to sleep to put a breathing tube down his throat. They are currently running tests. Yeah, so you got that from his rep, I believe. Um, thank you, JST, for that. But
Thank
yes,
you.
so the Saints, Dennis Allen, I don't know if he's going to be there next year because I mean a 7-9 Saints team. I don't know. They're probably looking for another coach. If not, trying to trade away pieces, trade away anything they can for a higher pick. Probably trying to get a pick to get a quarterback. Um, but we will see what happens with the Saints 7-9 again. But they take the win against the Eagles. But again, it was good with Gardner Minshew. Let's move on to the next game, which we talked about the NFC South. The Panthers went to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucks and were beat by the Bucks 30-24 in a game that looked like the resurrection of Tom Brady and that Bucks offense that was just completely stale up until last week. Bucks again win 30-24. They beat not only the Panthers, but they take the NFC South crown. Those long balls to Mike Evans, huge, huge for that offense. I think they had over 500 yards of offense or something like that. Mike Evans had like 50 points on fantasy football. He hauled in a couple touchdowns and just a bunch of yards. You had Mike Evans on your team, did you not?
Yeah, I had Mike Evans.
So almost 50 points. Like
Yeah,
that
48.
game was insane.
Yeah, Mike Evans. I mean, you just can't rule out Tom Brady. I mean, it's Tom Brady. I
Yeah.
was like, dude, what if he's just waiting? I don't know what he's capable of. It's
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady. I'm never gonna rule out Tom Brady. I mean, I was literally just going with Tom Brady. I was not picking the Bucks. I was picking Tom Brady, and it's funny. It was a really good day for the old guys.
Yeah.
It was like you had Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, and it's like all of that shit that was talked about the older quarterbacks in the beginning of the season when they all sucked. It's like they had themselves a day to be like, hey, I'm still here. You still you
Yeah.
still got to play Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady in
Oh yeah.
January.
But
Like,
that was the thing when you were saying that is like in my head, I'm like, yes, this makes total sense. But it's also like this team has not looked anywhere near the way they looked on Sunday this entire season. So it was just like, man, this team just flat out sucks. But
yeah,
here
no,
they
that was
are.
a huge moment.
Yeah, here they are, NFC South champs now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. Oh yeah, and what we know is they have the worst record out of all divisions, so they're going to be a 4 seed, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
2 plays 7, and then 3 plays 6, and then 4 plays 5, which
Mm-hmm.
means the best wild card record. And we already know, unless somehow the Cowboys get to the first seed in the NFC,
Mhm.
If the Eagles handle their business, Tampa's first game is going to be at home against the Cowboys.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and that is interesting, right?
That
Because it's like what Cowboys are coming and what Tom Brady's showing up. I mean, no
and
one feels good about it.
Tom Brady's very good against the Cowboys. I
Yeah.
think he's like undefeated against the Cowboys or something like that. He is at a very good record against the Cowboys. So yeah, like you said, the worst division leader probably going into the playoffs against a very good NFC East team is going to be a very good one of the very first good NFC wild card matchups for the NFL. So it's going to be interesting, like you said, to see what happens there. Tom
And
Brady,
then
you got to bet on him sometimes in the playoffs, right?
yeah, and then the Packers are going to end up playing the Niners because the 2 plays the 7 and the Packers will have 7 if they win, and
Oh
then
my
they got their
god.
kryptonite.
Oh
Dude,
my
get ready.
god.
Just get ready.
Speaking of the Packers, we got Tyler in here in the chat. Yo, what's good, guys? Keep hating on the Packers, man. We are on Sunday night against the Lions. Be here. I think he meant be there or be square with that Packers glove. And I got my Jair Alexander jersey. We'll be talking about the Packers in a bit here. Let's go on to the next game. There he is. There's the glove. There's the glove. Browns going to the Capitol and taking on the Washington Commanders. And Ron Rivera had no idea that they could have been eliminated later on that day after this game was played. And this Wentz move looks even worse because they lost 24-10 to the Browns in a game that didn't even look close for the Washington Commanders, if we're being honest. I don't know, Kyle. What did you have on this game other than Deshaun Watson? A few games after, a few games in the season, and he's looking a little bit better now as the game progresses.
Yeah, I thought Deshaun Watson would have a good game. He looked like he figured it out at the last couple series the week before, and then I thought it would carry over. And then they're at home, and then the Commanders just totally shit the bed with taking out Heineke and going with Wentz. I mean, it was all lined up for this to happen, and I wasn't surprised about it. I think the Browns, they have the potential to be really good, and that will show when they beat kind of a mediocre Commanders team that some people might have thought they were good at some point in the season, but I never fell for it.
Oh god. No, me neither. What did you think about the Ron Rivera comments though?
The Ron Rivera comments?
Yeah.
What were the comments?
Well, he had no idea that he could have been eliminated that game later on that day.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
So again, and that's what I was saying.
God.
Like this, the decision to play Wentz over Heineke, which I mean, in the millions of dollars versus the hundreds of thousands of dollars, the experience from Wentz, I guess.
The money doesn't matter. Winning matters.
You don't know what happened there, but it's like that decision to play Wentz over Heineke, the hot hand, just turned out to be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't know it was an elimination game, there maybe is a chance that he was just trying to sit Heineke to get him, because he was cooling down. Heineke was having a bad game, and they pulled him. Maybe he's like, "Hey, I'll take him out of this game, take him out of Week 16, then I'll put him back in because he does his best when he's coming in off the bench." I don't know what the thinking was, but it was. I would be concerned about my coach not knowing that there's an elimination because, I mean, if you don't know, then did your players know? And if your players don't know, it's like
that's what I'm saying.
Kind of important that they know when they go out there that this is the playoffs for us right now.
Exactly. And like you said, if you don't know, what are you saying at halftime to this team that is down to this terrible Browns team? Like, what what is being said in that locker room?
Yeah.
Nothing, because he
Nothing.
didn't know that it was a clinching game. You know what I mean? Or at
Yeah.
least a surviving game.
What about the
It's
offensive
insane.
coordinators? I mean, did nobody know? Like,
Yeah.
how does no one know? How does the equipment manager, who's been a big, fan of the team for like 20 years and finally got a gig, like
Yeah.
with the pads, not bring it up? Like,
It's insane. And we got Casey here in the chat. Casey, what's up? I saw the Rivera clip. Shocked he didn't know that they were out of the playoffs. Shocking. Yeah, shocked is an understatement. And we got Steve. Steve, what's going on? Let's not forget he was Cam Newton's coach, and he didn't know the game can end in a tie.
Oh, I thought Cam Newton said that.
It Cam Newton?
I thought Cam Newton was the one that said, I didn't know that it could end in a tie.
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is, they were both on the same team, so we're going to count it as both of them. Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to count it as both of them. All right, let's move on to the next game. We had the 49ers going to Las Vegas, taking on the Raiders. 49ers 12-4, already clinched the playoff spot, going up against the 6-10 Raiders. 49ers squeak one out, 37-34. It wasn't what I feel like I expected another blowout win, at least like a 2-score win by the 49ers against this Vegas team that, one, had Derek Carr basically say, hey, I'm not going to be in the team right now because you guys are sitting me or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And yet somehow Jarrett Stidham had a really good game, and he basically pulled a Brock Purdy and had a really good game against this 49ers team, especially with Devontae Adams there. So what did you see from this 49ers Raiders game?
I said, if you would have told me in the beginning of the season that week 17 is going to be a battle between Brock Purdy and Jarrett Stidham battling it out, going shot for shot in a shootout, I would have been very confused about this season. And this is just why you can never just think you've seen it all. Because if you're not following the story and you just jump into the middle of the year, you're going to be like, what is going on right now? Jarrett Stidham and Brock Purdy are playing each other.
First of all, Jarrett Stidham has a job. Secondly, who is Brock Purdy? What is this? Who is this guy?
Oh, he's just the quarterback of the number 2 seed in the NFC. He hasn't lost yet as a
49ers.
starter. It was good to see that he played a close game, but they didn't it was a close game, but not because he couldn't score points. Like, he scored 38 again. So, I mean, gosh, I just don't know how he keeps doing it, but 38 points, about to get Debo. Things are looking good.
He's coming back.
Things are looking good in San Francisco. And maybe you can make an argument that that Packers game, essentially, if it happens, is going to be a really good game. And who would have thought how much a season can change in such a short amount of time? Like, the Vikings losing the seeding. It's just, oh my God, it's all changed. And I think the 49ers might be the best team in the NFL with Brock Purdy. And I'm not ready to let go of that. I mean, the defense, a little concerning, giving up that many points to Jarrett Stidham.
To a Raiders team without Derek Carr, yeah.
I guess Devontae Adams just makes everybody good, So, yeah, what did you think about it? I'm in a little D for the P. Little D for the P.
D for the P. One of the big things that I think I saw in that game was Stidham's ability to use Devontae Adams, which is something I think Derek Carr was failing to do. Devontae Adams is a very good receiver. Obviously, they picked him up. They traded for him for a reason, right? Because Devontae Adams is a game changer. Stidham, this is the one thing I think I see with a lot of backup quarterbacks or first-year quarterbacks, guys just come into the game. They go, oh, okay, that's my best player. Okay, I'm going to throw to him because Devontae Adams is a great receiver, so I'm going to throw to him. Kyle, what I was saying is I feel like these new quarterbacks or these backups come in and realize oh yeah, that guy's my best player. I'm going to throw to him. I'm going to get him as involved as possible. And that's why you see a lot of this stuff, right? They go to their first read because their first read is the best player on the team. And, oh, wait, that equals success? Oh, wow, who would have thought?
Yeah.
It's almost like no shit, right? So I think that's kind of like with Brock Purdy is similar, right? Like he knows who to go to, and luckily he's got a very good defense to back him up. But it's just like I think that when you are a backup quarterback and you come into a system with a really good player, as a guy who has no weapons on the wide receiving core as a Bears fan, you're able to be like, that guy's my best player. I'm going to throw to him. I'm going to get him as involved as possible. And good things happen. And that's exactly what happened. It's just that Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers are a much, much better team. We got Joshua here real quick in the comments. Prayers for Hamlin. Thanks, Joshua, for sure. Definitely the same sentiments we have here at Only Football. Prayers up for Damar Hamlin. But yeah, that's kind of what happened. You know, the 49ers are a better team, and they were able to just get the win and, you know, stay in, have a chance at the number 1 seed in the NFC for the playoffs.
Yeah, I was going to say too, there may be times where teams are going to double cover a good wide receiver like Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson. Mm-hmm. But if they bring in a third string quarterback, they're like, hey, don't worry about double teaming him. I don't trust the quarterback's ability to feed this guy. They don't have the chemistry that Derek Carr has, and there might be some of that going on once in a while where a player that would have been double covered if, you know, Carr was quarterback. Now Stidham comes in and they're just like, hey, we'll just play our regular defense. It's Stidham. And then he's able to showcase really how good Devontae Adams is.
Mm-hmm. And it really is more of like a Devontae Adams show. Like, yo, this guy's very good.
Yeah.
It's not even necessarily Stidham. It is Devontae Adams. But good game, close game again. San Francisco 49ers keep their hopes alive for number 1 seed. Let's move on to the next game. We had the Jets go into Seattle and just get dominated by the Seahawks, 23-6.
Yeah, it was just a matter of time.
It was, and this is actually a game that Mike White played in.
Yeah.
And he did not look good in this game. He did not look good in this game whatsoever. Salah's defense did not really have an answer for Seattle. From what I'm seeing here, Geno Smith had 183 yards. Kenneth Walker torched them for 133 yards rushing. It was really just a good game for the Seattle Seahawks and a bad game for the Jets defense. And Mike White had a good game. Really, the biggest blemish on his game was the 2 interceptions. And I mean, they ended up losing 23-6, and that was their playoff hopes right there against Seattle.
Yeah, and I expect to see, you know, Mike equal Gronk spikes. Or I thought, you know, with Mike White returning to the fight, my bets is on the Jets. I said that because it rhymed, but I knew the Seahawks would win this whole time.
Yeah.
And I just, there was no cool rhyme with Seahawks, so I had to go with the Jets because it rhymed. But then we
Seahawks had the big cocks. Sorry,
it doesn't sound as cool. See, it doesn't
that was terrible. Cool. You're
right. Yeah. So I think Seattle kind of exposed the Jets, but so has the Jags, and so has the Buffalo, and so has all those other Miami. They've played a lot of teams and they've lost like 5 in a row now. I think we said that the Jets were fakers in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
There's always that team, and you know it because the Bears did it to you, and I know it because McDaniel's first year as the Broncos head coach, we went 6-0 and ended 8-8. And there's
so bad.
Yeah. So there's just always the team that'll do it, and you got to be able to say, I've watched enough football to know that it's just a matter of time. And I felt that way about the Giants too, but they're able to get that win against the Commanders because the refs helped them. Remember that one, the no PI call in the end zone?
Yep. Oh yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
So, back to the Seahawks. They have
they're gonna need help. They're gonna need the Packers to lose, and then they're gonna need to win. Yeah, I don't consider Seattle a threat, but the fact that it's week 18 and Seattle can be talking about the playoffs is really, I would say, the number 2 goal. The number 1 goal would be to be in the playoffs. The number 2 goal is to be relevant when the playoffs are right around the corner. So, losing Russell Wilson and Geno Smith taking over, like, good job, Seattle. Whatever happens, good job.
This is just, and yeah, you're right. This is just a win for Seattle. Whether they make the playoffs or not, what they were able to do with Geno Smith, and again, like you said, it's week 18 and they're in the talks and they're having talks about possibly going to the playoffs. It's a win for Seattle. Obviously, right? We go back to week 1 against the Broncos. I'm sorry to bring it up. I'm sorry. But it's just something that nobody expected, right? There goes Scott. And only football is over, officially over, thanks to me. But yeah, you just kind of look at those moments and you're just like, wow, that's insane. What happened then and what's happening now, week 18.
And they got a first round pick, 3rd overall.
And yeah, exactly. It all depends what happens towards the end of the season. What was I going to say? Oh, let's move on into the next game. There's really not much to say about the Jets other than Zach Wilson is probably not the guy anymore for them. I don't know if you would agree or disagree.
No. On Thursday night, it was settled. Like, that was the last of Zach Wilson. We said it, the best to do it in any position, they diagnose their mistakes and they get off of them quick, right?
Yeah.
You don't harbor it and you don't force it. You don't just, no, this has to work or I'm going to look dumb. It's okay.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett, wrong coach. Fastest, one of the top 4 fastest firings of all time. We're not going to sit here and force it because there's a standard, and the standard and the product are so far apart that you don't deserve the time to catch up. If you're like right under the standard, it's like, hey, maybe, one more year. But if you're like not even close, it's like, hey, we could literally hire, anybody to be, that bad. We could have anyone do it. So why would we stick with you when you got a fan base that is very angry? And this goes for everybody, and especially Zach Wilson is going through the same thing because you got a defense playing so good. This is so similar in an analogy because the defense is so good that you could pluck almost any quarterback, and that's why they're like, how come when Joe Flacco came in, he looked way better than Zach Wilson? How come when Mike White came in, he looked way better than Zach Wilson? And how come when this Canadian football player, number 15, when he came in, he looked way better than Zach Wilson? Why does everybody look better than our number 3 overall pick in the draft? Well, if that's the case, you got to move off because your defense, they're only going to be so good for so long. And the fact is, if you put Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, even at their age, on the Jets, they would be in the playoffs. 100%.
They would match the energy of the defense.
Just like Brett Favre when he joined
the Vikings.
Revis Island.
Or when he went to the Jets, you're right. He did go to the Jets, or even the Vikings too. He had both of them, looking really, really good. And that's just the addition of just him. But Revis Island too. With that, it just looked good. And like I said, he'll match the energy of the defense, and the defense appreciates that so much.
That was probably the craziest football story of all time. Is like Brett Favre running out onto Lambeau in a Vikings jersey.
Yeah,
it was like, what is going on?
It's one of those moments in football where you're just like, this is actually happening.
Could you imagine waking up from a long nap, or if you go into space, how you go down for those long naps? It's like you wake up and Brett Favre's running out on a Viking uniform. You're just like, how long have we been sleeping? They're like, only 1 month, sir. It's like, what?
Real quick, we got JST here. Sorry to interrupt, but when Damar Hamlin recovers, trying to be positive, as we all are for sure. I would,
Yeah.
of course, not let him even return to the team out of love and respect. He shouldn't need to come back. He was able to fight and recover. Absolutely. And, these guys are athletes. They want to play, right? We talked about Tua earlier. These guys want to go in and they're competitive and they want to play. But yes, you absolutely leave those guys at home or on the sidelines, have them come in, be a part of the team. But in that sense, because you think of Ryan Shazier from the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was paralyzed, and through all the effort and all the work he did, he was able to walk again. So you want to keep those guys on the team in the sense of like, you are still a part of this team, but because of what happened, you want to keep them on the sidelines. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
yeah.
we just need to know more. We need to know more. We need more information until we do. I mean, that's why they're running tests. They're running tests to try to diagnose, which means there's a lot we don't know.
Yep, absolutely. Moving on to the next game, we had the Vikings go into Lambeau and get just destroyed by the Packers, 41-17. Jair Alexander, and there's the glove. Jair Alexander, where's Tyler? Tyler, if you're in here still. Your boy,
how mad
Jair
were
Alexander.
You?
I wasn't. Luckily, I'm not a Vikings fan, because if I was a Vikings fan, I'd be like, this was embarrassing.
But you hate the Packers more than you like the Vikings. That's fair to say.
I don't like the Vikings at all.
I know exactly. So no matter what happens, you're mad. But you hate the Packers. You don't hate the Vikings.
You're right. I hate the Packers. I hate that they still have a shot to make it in the playoffs. So I hate that. But they have a shot. It's a shot.
Seattle has a shot.
Necessarily anything. Yeah.
The Packers
let's be careful, because Seattle and the Packers and the Lions all have a shot.
Well, let's talk about
Alexander
it.
though.
Yeah,
Jair Alexander though. No, we're going to talk about it. We got a whole segment for the playoffs. We'll definitely talk about it. Jair Alexander made Jefferson look terrible. Jefferson had one catch for, I think, 15 yards, and he grittied on him. He gritted on him.
I like Jair Alexander is a great cornerback. I know he doesn't want us to say good. He considers that disrespectful. But it was funny. I saw something where he literally called himself a good cornerback just last week when he was talking about himself. It was like, look, I do think I think it's really great that he was able to do this. He did have safety help on, I believe, 90% of the plays. Yeah. He was not like on Revis Island, man covering him. And like, this is look, they did what they were supposed to do as a defense. And that includes Jair Alexander, but he did have a lot of help on his side. It was not man on man. There was help. The Packers' game plan was as collectively as a unit to shut down Justin Jefferson, not just Jair Alexander. So the fact that he, like, I don't know, kind of made it about himself when it was all over. I don't know. I've seen Patrick Surtain shut down Devontae Adams. I've seen us go on a 5-week slide where, he's only allowed one catch in 5 games between receivers like Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill and all these amazing players. And you don't hear nothing from him. He doesn't go into the press conference and be like, grab the microphone. And I mean, I just don't think that's why I don't like Jalen Ramsey. Like, that's not my style of player. I like players that just like handle their business and they let their game speak for themselves. And it's kind of cliche, but to me, like, when I even think about, now that I'm a grown man, I don't wear just any football jersey. Like, the jerseys that I choose to wear are not like, I wouldn't wear a Jerry Jeudy jersey, because I still feel like he would be like, he reminds me of like my little brother, but like Russell Wilson, Justin Simmons, Patrick Surtain, people that I'm like, I can actually admire something about them, and they're inspiring to watch. Those are the players that I think everybody likes to have on their team. And you can tell when you have one right away. You're like, that's a player we can't let go for at least the next 10 years. And every team has maybe only 2 or 3 tops of those guys.
I feel the same way about Jalen Johnson on the Bears. He does his job, and he isn't necessarily loud. I don't want to say loud, but he isn't very vocal about it. But I also don't mind guys who are vocal about it and can back it up, because he's, you know, it pains me to say good things about Packers and Packers players, but back in whenever week 1 or 2, whenever they played the Vikings, it was one thing that he said. He's like, this was a fluke. It's not going to happen again. And what happened? Sure, it was a defensive effort, but he was on Jefferson the entire time and kept him to 1 catch and 15 yards throughout the whole game. And this is a Justin Jefferson is a player who, I think I said it last episode or during the stream, that you just throw the ball up to him and he'll get stuff done. And he's almost like a Tyreek, where Patrick Mahomes would be like, fuck it, Tyreek's down there somewhere, right? Like, and he would just throw the ball and Tyreek would get to the ball. Justin Jefferson is that guy. Justin Jefferson is a wide receiver like that. No 1 week of regular season football is going to take away from the fact that Justin Jefferson is an elite wide receiver. Jair Alexander, a very, very good cornerback, probably in, talking about the great cornerbacks of this era too. But he spoke up and he did the job. What I will say is Kirk Cousins, 3 interceptions. Bad. So bad that they brought Nick Mullins in again. He had a touchdown, sure. But that was just bad on Kirk Cousins. And I don't know. How would you feel after a game against the Packers, who are fighting for a playoff spot? How would you feel with Kirk Cousins throwing 3 interceptions against him going into the playoffs as the NFC North champs?
I'd feel bad about it, but hopefully it's a fluke. That's what I would tell my team. Like, hey, they had a punt return or a kickoff return. They had an interception return. Yeah. So hopefully these are things that obviously, like, everything that could go right for the Packers went right. Mm-hmm. That's the message if I'm the Vikings head coach. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I still think the Vikings are going to be a tough team to play. I think if they played again next week in the playoffs, I think it would be a close football game. But we've seen the Vikings get dominated a couple times, which is a little concerning. We saw Dallas beat the living crap out of them. We saw the Packers do it. The Vikings are 4-4 in their last 8 games. They're middle of the pack right now. I would say, pun intended. And their last big win was against Buffalo. Now, since then, though, they've been an average football team, in my opinion. Yeah, I would agree. But let's look at the other side too, right? The Packers, yes, 41 points. They put up 41 points, but Aaron Rodgers, as a quarterback, 159 yards and a touchdown. It was mostly, I guess, the defense, I think, got a couple points as well. Did they not? Or there's a lot of field goals, a couple touchdowns here and there, but the Packers defense?
The Packers defense let up 17 points. Yeah, pick 6. There you go. Aaron Rodgers, one passing touchdown, 159 yards. Aaron Jones, 111 yards, no touchdown. So the run game, very good.
Yeah.
Are you kind of worried a little bit with those 159 yards from Aaron Rodgers? I mean, it's not at all. They're not big numbers, but it's not
a little bit
small number. No,
not at all. You got to read the room. You got to read the room. And how many times have we complained about coaches not reading a game?
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect them to be airing it out when they're playing with a 24-point lead.
Yep.
Am I worried? Not at all. If it was a quarterback that wasn't a proven passer, I might want to see that, like Dak. I might be a little concerned, honestly. I'd be like, I don't know, because what if they ask him to do more and he can't? I'm not worried about Rodgers getting into a shootout. I'm really not.
Okay.
But they are playing just complimentary football. They're playing really good football, and there's a couple of teams that you can throw the record away. I think about the Packers. I think about Tom Brady, right? Where normally you could go into the postseason and be like, hey, this is an 8-8 football team. This is a 9-8 football team. We're a 12-4 team. Well, here's what I think. I think with Aaron Rodgers and that team, they're playing their best football right now, and their record means nothing. And I'm not kidding when I say the Packers could win the Super Bowl in a year like this, and Rodgers never play football again. I really see that. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's always the teams that were lost and forgotten.
Yeah.
In week 8, when it happens, I think of the Giants with Eli Manning. Nobody gave the 7-9 Giants a chance to win the Super Bowl. And I watched Brett Favre throw that interception in his last game as a Packer.
Yep.
And send the Packers home. And the Giants go on to beat the 19-0 Patriots at the time.
Yeah, so absolutely.
I think for Packer fans, you're just as excited this year as you are to be 13-3 in a first seed, honestly.
For sure. And we got Casey here in the chat. The defense also got a kickoff return. That's right. They did. We were talking about that. I remember going like, oh my God, this is insane during the red zone showing of that. They got momentum going to energize the offense. Yeah, I would agree with that. And all the things Kyle said too. So going into the postseason or going into week 18 on Sunday Night Football against the Lions, it's going to be huge. Huge for sure. Next game, we had the LA Rams going into LA against the Chargers. They play at the same stadium, everybody. There's no home team. There's no home field advantage here, but the Chargers somehow got, I don't want to say somehow got the win. But I was going to say somehow got that home to their advantage because they destroyed the Rams 31-10. They clinched the spot in the playoffs, or they already were in the playoffs before this game, I believe. Chargers have a 10-6 record. The Rams 5-11. Oh God, I just had it up. Sorry. Justin Herbert, 21 for 28 with 2 touchdowns, 212 yards. Austin Eckler, 10 rushes for 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. This Chargers team looks so much better than they have in weeks past. They're going into the playoffs, right? Is AFC is second from the AFC West. And as a wild card, I think has the best chance out of all the wild card teams, any wild card team, to make it farther than the first round. Would you agree with the Chargers on that?
Yes. Yes, because they have Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They have a top 5 quarterback. I would say Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and then Aaron Rodgers, and the 5th would be Justin Herbert. And I think he hasn't even tapped into his potential yet. The problem is they're not like healthy as a team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I really think that is the one kind of limiting factor where it's like, okay, they have the ceiling, but when you have a top 5 quarterback in the league, your ceiling kind of goes, to the wayside because those guys can overcome adversity. And to answer your question though, I absolutely believe the Chargers could find themselves in the divisional or potentially a championship game. I don't think so. I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah,
if it happened, I wouldn't be like, how?
I would say the same thing. I wouldn't bet on it, but if it happens, it's not like the craziest thing in the world, right? It's not like saying, oh, I can see the Giants in the NFC Championship game. No, there's no freaking way. There's there's way too many good teams in the NFC for the Giants to even sniff, right? But it's not delusional to say that with Justin Herbert. Like you said, they have Justin Herbert. They have Austin Eckler. They've got Mike Williams, right?
Leads the league in the NFL in rushing touchdowns.
That's more than enough for me to be like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Defensively, Derwin James is, in my opinion,
he's so good.
He's the best safety in the NFL, and I freaking knew it. And all these teams passed him up, and I was so pissed, man. I was like, nobody knows how good this dude is, and then the Chargers drafted him, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
the Chargers got him.
Yeah.
Oh God. So we're gonna have fun dealing with that.
Yeah. Yeah. He's so good. He's so good. Looking into the opposite side, the LA Rams, Baker Mayfield, 132 yards. The only touchdown came from a Malcolm Brown rushing touchdown. One of the things you can look at that has improved for the Rams, Cam Akers, 123 yards on 19 carries. That's over 6 yards average.
Yeah, he's good.
And you actually said that maybe a couple weeks ago. You're like, look, Cam Akers is a good running back. It's just he needs to kind of get those reps. He needs to have a good game to maybe build on a lot of people's expectations. And that's exactly what he's been doing. So really what you're looking at for the Rams is like, hey, we might have a running back now, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I would probably say that.
I said Cam Akers would be a top 5 running back, and I still stand by that. What people don't realize is this in the Broncos, these are the worst lines in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So you're averaging 6 yards a carry because you're getting those reps and a little bit of confidence, I'm sure. I don't think a guy as good as Cam probably ever lost his confidence, but it happens to people.
Yeah.
But if you can get a real line established, and you're going to have to fix that one way or another, whether it's for the passing game or the running game, you can't be as bad as the Broncos and Rams and have a good season. And you see that with Matthew Stafford on IR.
Yep.
So, if the Rams can go into next season and beef up their offensive line and maybe get one more weapon, they're going to be right back into it. And McVay, he's been flirting with retirement. He's been talking about it a lot. McVay's not going out like this. I don't think so.
No, I would agree that he doesn't want to go out like this. Kind of like we talked about JJ Watt going out he's playing at a high level, and that's kind of how he wants to go out. That's how a lot of people want to go out, right? Or with a Super Bowl win, with some sort of accolade that they can look on and be like, I didn't really give up. It's just like I played at the highest level, and that's all he did. Sean McVay isn't going to do it. They definitely need another weapon to help out Van Jefferson. I don't think, as well as Cooper Kupp, right? I don't know if Robinson, I think they had him on a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if he's going to be that guy, because somehow Stafford, who knows how he would have played with Baker, but it doesn't seem to be working for Allen Robinson the last couple of years, one with the Bears, one with the Rams.
The line
is rough. They need to really beef up that line and that wide receiving core, because we saw Cooper Kupp go out, and that's basically where their offense went, right? Their offense went with Cooper Kupp. But luckily the only thing that came out of that was Cam Akers. So we'll see how that happens, what happens there. But yes, I don't know if Sean McVay goes out like a bitch to kind of keep it plainly. You know what I mean?
I don't think so. And then I'll say this, and we can move on. You think about Cortland Sutton being a number 1 receiver, big body possessional receiver, same as Allen Robinson. They're the same big body, 50-50 ball guys, really long arms. Well, you see Jerry Jeudy is our number 1 receiver this year. And that all that translates to is big body possession receivers. They need time to run their routes to get downfield. They're not like slot receivers running slants. You know what I mean? So Robinson's year kind of being a down year is a direct reflection of the quarterback, for whether it was Baker or Matthew Stafford, not having enough time to allow those big guys to get downfield. They just don't have the time for it. So
yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to the next game. We had a great AFC North divisional matchup. We had the Steelers going to Baltimore, take on the Ravens.
Oof.
Hell of a game late, as Kenny Pickett and the Ravens, I think it was Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris, connected for the game-winning touchdown. Yeah, game-winning touchdown.
Big time pass.
Yeah, it was huge. Great win by the Steelers. I think I called the win and you called the Ravens, so I'm just gonna, take the credit there. But this game could have gone any which way. You had Kenny Pickett not playing really well. He had 168 yards and a touchdown, and then you had Tyler Huntley, touchdown and an interception, and only 130 yards passing. So really, this game was more like you think of these games, and yes, you think of like defenses just a defensive game, and that's somewhat of what it was, but it just wasn't as entertaining as a lot of people thought. And really, it was the last couple minutes in that Kenny Pickett touchdown that kind of did it for everyone, right? You live streamed the game. Is there anything you saw that, I don't know?
Yeah.
What did you see in this game?
I saw a true leader stand up in the moments, the game's most critical moment, which was that final drive. I saw a team on the road in a hostile environment step up to the plate when it mattered the most. Well, when the Kenny Pickett throw happened, he had two throws. He had the one that everyone knows to the running back, Najee Harris, to win the game. But he had a couple throws to Freiermuth,
yeah.
Freiermuth that were just amazing passes to keep that drive going. I'm going to say this, and I know it's going to sound very dramatic, but when he made that throw to Najee Harris in the end zone, it reminded me of a throw I've only seen Aaron Rodgers make. And it's just kind of this wheel route thing where the quarterback just kind of like flicks the wrist, and you're like, where's that ball going? And then you're like, wait a minute, that ball's on perfect trajectory. It's a touchdown. It's like, it's like a very he may never become, able to hold the jockstrap of Aaron Rodgers, but the point is you saw those flashes, those glimpses of, wow, this is a rookie quarterback. I would take him over Mac Jones, and this gentleman, no matter what happens, I think it's very possible Miami and New England loses. We'll get into that, but no matter what happens this year, Pickett's earned himself a starting job next year.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is one of the things that I see is like, I obviously I feel like you and I and a lot of people all over the NFL have differing opinions on, like, throw him in the fire, throw this rookie QB in the fire. Whereas maybe like sit under a veteran, learn from him, and then start, right? Like those are the kind of the two ways of thinking when it comes to quarterback. These are the moments you kind of want to see from them. And luckily this came out in the favor of the Steelers, Mike Tomlin and Kenny Pickett, and even Najee Harris, who's had a really down year. It's a lot of momentum going into next season. And again, they still have a hope of getting into the playoffs. Yeah. And Tomlin, it's depending on what happens next week, may or may not have his first losing season. Can you imagine they go 9-8? That's how many straight years of Tomlin going without a losing season? It's insane.
Yeah, Tomlin is the real deal, and the Steelers, the way they've been able to stick together through all the adversity and just keep playing their best football, putting their best foot forward, kind of canceling out the noise, and being on the road. I was extremely impressed after that. When that game ended, after that touchdown, I was just as a football fan, I was very impressed with the Steelers from the coach all the way down to the quarterback. And you mentioned throw him into the fire, let him sit behind a veteran. It's all situational, they don't have a veteran to sit behind right now.
Exactly.
So they throw him into the fire. I mean, ideally, it's nice to do what Jordan Love does, but not everyone gets that opportunity. And Kenny Pickett has handled the fire really well, and he just showed enough just in that one drive where you're like, okay, you have your ceiling just went like this to me. Because if you can make that throw your rookie year, I mean, Josh Allen didn't look like Josh Allen his rookie year.
Exactly.
So, I mean, Justin Fields didn't look like Justin Fields his rookie year. So, yeah, I think another year with Kenny Pickett, they could be 10-7, 11-6.
And he does that against a divisional opponent, right? Like a hated divisional opponent in the Ravens.
No Lamar Jackson. We have to
no Lamar. Yeah, absolutely. You got to keep that in mind, but it's just like, it's still a big game, right? Like these guys take that rivalry seriously. So it's a big game, Sunday Night Football, the lights are on, things like that happen. So you just, it's a huge game. And the fact that he can do that is amazing. So that was a week 17 breakdown, obviously with the Monday Night Football game being postponed. We will not be able to discuss that. If the game happens, it happens, and we will discuss it then. But we do have some news here from JST. UC Medical now tells us there will be no update on Damar Hamlin tonight. No word on when to expect an update tomorrow. In the meantime, Bengals and Bills fans continue to gather outside the hospital. So from what I heard, last we heard was his marketing rep said that he was in I don't want to say stable condition. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but in normal conditions, they had a tube down his throat for him to be able to breathe. So, these are all good things to hear that he's on the up and up. But we will keep up any updates. Again, I've got Scott Van Pelt on ESPN on. I'm sure Kyle does as well. So we'll give you guys any updates as we see them, as long as the episode runs. So that was week 17, like I said, Kyle, and I will go to the records for now that we have, and you're gonna like this. This is gonna be fun, actually. So our overall record, what Kyle and I have both predicted, bet on the same team or picked the same team to win. We are 99-42. We are over 50%, almost 60% in guessing games correctly. Kyle said it once, and I'll say it again. Better than Vegas, probably.
Better than Vegas, baby.
Yeah. Now, as far as our individual record, 38-38. We are tied going into week 18. So if you thought the NFL season was crazy, Kyle and I are both tied 38-38, both 500 going into week 18. So it's going to make our Wednesday episode even crazier, even more. I don't know. It's just going to make it crazy. It's going to be fun. We still haven't come up with necessarily a punishment. Ooh, you're bad. You're bad. Punishment.
I have to spank you with the glove.
Oh God.
Of course I'm going to be wearing it.
My wife's hearing this. I'm so sorry. So it's going to make week 18 very, very, very interesting.
Just kidding.
Yeah, just kidding. So we will see what happened. We'll see what happens into that. But the records are a little crazy. So it's going to be a fun week 18. I think it's going to be a fun week 18. But let's move on now to our NFC, AFC playoff scenarios. So a lot of things happening. Obviously, week 17, week 18 is still a possibility. So right now, as far as the AFC playoff scenario, because Monday Night Football was suspended, there are still some things up in the air. But what we know for sure, teams that are in, got the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, the Chargers, and the Ravens. Now, the possible 4th, 6th, and 7th seeds, 4th because the Jags and the Titans still have to decide who wins the AFC South, are the Jags, the Titans, the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Steelers. So we have 2 AFC East teams and 1 AFC North team.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the most likely outcome is both teams pretend this game never happened. And then they just go into week 18 and play their opponent, whoever it is. And this is just chalked up to nothing for, nothing against kind of a deal. I think that's the fairest way to do it, without putting in jeopardy players having 4 days of rest going into another one. It is what it is. But I think I can do really quick. AFC is pretty simple. You want me to do AFC and you want to do NFC?
Yeah, absolutely. And while you do that, I will be right back. So Kyle, go ahead, take away the AFC, sorry.
So for the AFC, the Pittsburgh has a chance to make the playoffs. What they need is Miami and New England to both lose. Miami is playing the Jets and New England is playing Buffalo. So New England, if they want to make it in the playoffs, that final 7 seed, they have to beat Buffalo and they're in. Easier said than done. Buffalo is a powerhouse. And then Miami needs New England to lose to Buffalo, which we just said could potentially happen. Buffalo, a good team. And then Miami needs to win against the Jets. Miami beats the Jets and New England loses, Miami's in. So that's how New England gets in. That's how Miami gets in. And that's how the Steelers get in. Those are the 3 playoff scenarios for week 17 for the AFC. As far as seeding goes, obviously the seeding is all to be determined after the unfortunate news tonight. I think the most likely outcome is that everything will stay as it is, and nothing for, nothing against. Maybe they charge, I guess, both teams with a tie potentially. I think that would be fair potentially. And and then if the Chiefs win, see, that's what's tough, is because if the Chiefs win and Buffalo has a tie, I think the Chiefs would get in the first seed, but there's no guarantee that Buffalo would have lost. It's a messy situation right now. Obviously, the health of the players is more important than all of this, but because we're talking about playoff scenarios, we have to talk about the messy side of kind of the ripple effect of what's happened here. So that is potentially what is up to figure out, and those are the matchups that will ultimately determine who takes the 7th seed in the AFC. Rick?
All right, so that was the AFC. Let's move on to the NFC. So NFC playoff scenarios, teams that are in. We have the Eagles, the 49ers, the Vikings, the Bucks, Cowboys, and Giants in that order from number 1 through 6. Possible 7th seeds are Seahawks, Lions, or the Packers. Now, when it comes to the 1 through 6 seeds, the Eagles can clinch the East with a win or a Cowboys loss, and they can clinch the number 1 seed with both of those happening plus a 49ers loss. So they need a win. Dallas needs to lose, and the 49ers need to lose in order for the Eagles to clinch a number 1 seed. For the 49ers, they clinch a number 1 seed because they're already the NFC West champs. They clinch a number 1 seed with a win and an Eagles loss. The Cowboys can clinch the East with a win and an Eagles loss, and they can clinch a number 1 seed with those two things plus a 49ers loss. So a lot happening, a lot of moving parts for that number 1 seed in the NFC. But as far as the 7th seed goes, the Seahawks can clinch the playoffs with a win and a Packers loss. The Lions clinch playoffs with a win and a Seahawks loss, and the Packers clinch a playoff with a win.
Okay.
And they play at the Lions on Sunday Night Football. That game was flexed to Sunday Night Football to have the Packers go up against the Lions there. So a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, a lot of need to win, need to lose, need them to lose, two things to happen here. But it seems to me, if I'm being honest, the Packers are probably going to make the playoffs.
Ooh, a little sneak peek at Wednesday's episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would be like the safest bet, putting the fan glove aside. Like
Exactly. So those are the playoff scenarios on the AFC and the NFC. Obviously, again, with the Monday Night Football game, player safety first. So it doesn't even matter at this point, but this is what's going on in the NFL going into week 18 after another exciting week 17 that answered a lot of questions and shut the door on playoffs on a lot of teams. So, one of them being Ron Rivera, who had no idea he even had a shot.
And kept and opened the door for like a Seahawks team where we weren't even talking about them. We were
honestly.
like, oh yeah, the Seahawks, and then just a couple things happened, and all of a sudden Seahawk fans are going to bed hoping that the Lions win.
Exactly. So
who are the Hawks playing?
They play, I'm going to double check the schedule here for you real quick.
It's like one of the only games I don't have on the top of my head.
Yeah. Seahawks are playing the Rams. So they have a pretty favorable matchup against the Rams, although the Rams put up how many points against not this last week, but the week prior, like 41 or 50 on the. Oh, wait, I don't want to talk about it. Never mind. So let's actually move on.
No.
Yeah, I feel so stupid for not even remembering that. My bad.
51.
So that was the episode for today. Actually, real quick, I do just want to mention for all you guys playing fantasy football, I, of course, probably will lose my my third place standing. But if you guys played the championship this week, if you won, congratulations. If you lost, hopefully your league, like our league, gives you some sort of compensation for coming in second. I just wanted third because I've finished at least top 3 the last 2 years. So that'd be nice to finish for a third year in a row, top 3.
That would be nice.
But Kyle, you did not come in last, so you did not get the last place name on the chat or having to do the punishment.
I like that. You gotta find the small moral victories.
Yeah. And if anybody was wondering what our punishment was, it was to put on lingerie and film an OnlyFans video. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Kyle was like mid-drink. He's like, what the? No, I did steal the punishment this year from something that I saw where it was like you have to sit at like a breakfast spot or like some chain restaurant. It was, I modified it a little bit because the original one is you have to sit at a breakfast spot for 24 hours, and for every pancake you eat, 1 hour gets taken off from your time. I modified it. I said 12 hours, and for every 2 pancakes you eat, you get an hour knocked off. So it was kind of like you half it, you whatever it was.
Wow. So you eat 20 pancakes and you're out of there in 4 hours.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, the way it was. Now,
no, you're out there in 2 hours.
Yeah, now, yeah, you eat 20 pancakes and you're out of there in 2 hours. That's clever. I like
right?
it.
It's not bad. It's not bad. And it's not the crepes, not the little skinny pancakes. I want some fluffy motherfuckers.
Oh, gosh.
All right.
I'd really be like, hey, I just want to order 10 pancakes and then have a box next to me. Put the pancakes in the box.
Yeah, right.
Take
like you're
the
able
picture.
to get out of there soon.
Oh, so full.
Oh God, so full. But yeah, that was our fantasy for this year. Hopefully I have better luck next year as well as Kyle. Kyle did win the first year. I think we've mentioned it before. So Kyle did win the first year. So good on him.
Yeah, I drafted that year.
So we have Steve in the chat real quick. Kyle's already been practicing his OnlyFans move on the stream, so I think he's ready to
go. They won't let me live it down.
No, you're not. You showed nipple on the live stream, dude. It's over. It's over for you. You're basically a porn star now.
What's my name? I need a name.
I think Kyle is already a good name, a good porn star.
I think it's the street name that you grew up on and your first pet. So mine's Lady Sanchez.
That is a terrible name. That's a terrible name. People are gonna think you're like some sort of transsexual or something, or you got a procedure done. But anyway, before we get into all that, that was the episode for Only Football today. If you guys are liking our streams, liking our podcasts, liking the content we're putting out, follow us. You see the ticker down there. Follow us at Star 6 Media on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch, and at _Star 6 Media on Twitter. And also you could follow us on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at @NowRick. Kyle, where can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at FTBL Only Podcast. That's FTBL Only Podcast.
Appreciate it. Good job, Kyle. And Casey in the chat here. By the way, congrats on your first 100 subs. A small step forward is still a big step. Thank you, Casey. Appreciate that. And it's guys like, I don't want to assume if you're a guy or a girl, but people like you who sub, who make this possible for us, who made this 100 subs to Star 6 Media possible. And we really thank you guys for getting us there. And I will probably do this from here on out, but a big thank you to Tom Grossi and sending his raids over to us. Really huge ups to Tom Grossi and sending us you guys for continually coming onto the podcast and chatting us up. But other than that, take a listen to the other podcasts and the other live streams here on Star 6 Media. You can listen to EAFP for all your soccer needs with Eric, Big League Chicago, which I just got finished streaming right before Only Football. Talk all big leagues in Chicago sports. JCA Sports stream on Wednesdays. 3 Up, 3 Down for all your Major League Baseball news and updates. Sports Strip Live for any boxing, MMA, and wrestling stuff you need. Yep, there you go, Kyle. See, we're going to have Kyle on that podcast soon, getting his ass kicked. And Slot Shot NHL podcast, usually on Thursdays or Fridays. But yeah, thank you again for tuning in, and just want to end it with prayers up to Damar Hamlin. Hopefully everything is okay with him and he comes out better than ever. And you know, Bills Mafia, everyone who donated to his charity, thank you. I'm gonna donate right as soon as I get off the stream. I'm gonna donate as well. Kyle, any last words?
No, you covered it all. But yeah, we'll definitely be keeping an eye on things, and this is a sports and news channel, so you'll see those updates on our channel when they come out.
Absolutely, man. All right, well, from me and from Kyle, see ya.